of the companies I work with called Give Well. And it's not about giving more money. It could be just about giving your time, your attention. If I have a choice, Steve, if I have an hour with you to kind of help me think about my, charity, or give me $1,000 and I don't get any time with you, I'm taking the time, right? I will take that, your donation in, just helping me think through challenges. That is so much more valuable. And we all have value.
What do you want to be when you grow up? Maybe a successful business person, maybe somebody who makes the world a better place. But what if you could do both? David Gitter is the former chief marketing officer of the World Poker Tour. He is currently the co-founder and CEO of Valoriso Casino Events. And he continues after 14 years to be the president of the World Poker Tour Foundation, which has raised well over $50 million for important and meaningful causes. David, welcome to SmarterUmedia.
Hey, Steve. Great to see you.
Each and every time it is great to see you. We have haunted many halls all over the world. And in China, we even discovered that we have the same birthday.
Yep. And I had to share my cake with you. So it's kind of upsetting there, but all right.
Sibling stuff always comes up. With that, we're going to very quickly be haunted by our brother, the chicken timer, who has set himself for 2 minutes so that you get to make audience here smarter in 2 minutes. David, make me a little bit smarter.
When you called me, Steve, and you said, hey, would you be on this podcast? My answer is yes. Anything that you ever ask me to do, I'll do. And I think that's kind of the lesson I learned as I thought about that. I think a lot of people instinctually say no. They start with no. No is a great answer because I can go home early. I don't have to stick my neck out with my boss. I don't have to go to the finance department and get approval. I don't have to go to legal and do a contract. I say no, I'm home at 5 o'clock. It's a great answer. I think I suggest people start with yes. They don't start with no and then find out, oh, is there a reason to do it? They start with yes, and then they pressure test it. I love to start with it, and I think that's who you are. I can imagine when you started the World Poker Tour with Lyle, a lot of people were skeptical. Are people going to want to show, are they going to want to show their strategy? Are they going to want to be on TV? And then, you came up with the whole card idea, which was genius. And at the end of the day, you proved them wrong. There are a lot of people that start with no. I suggest people start with yes and then work their way backwards. Don't ask yourself, what if it fails? Ask yourself, what if it makes it? What if it works? And I think that's, the attitude I think that you and Adam Pliska and I all share. Let's start with yes and then figure out how to make it work, but don't start with no. Too many people do that, and that doesn't get you where I think people want to be.
You still have 15 seconds that you're going to leave me with. I'm going to take advantage of that sometime today. Curiosity is one of the big things I think that makes life wonderful and fun. And you say yes a lot when you're curious. You say yes a lot when you're open. And yeah, you may not have to work quite as much, but I think you don't get a chance to do the fun things that don't feel like work.
It's saying yes is not a commitment to doing it. It's just a commitment to explore it. So I'm not suggesting that say yes to everything and, be, segmented into all these different places and do all these different things. You got to be smart about what you say yes to, but at least start with yes. That's all I'm saying. Start with yes, go from there. It's not to say that you're going to do everything and say yes to everything. You're just not going to start with no, which shuts it down. I mean, if you think about it, companies like Blockbuster Video, 3,000 locations, street corners everywhere. They said no to a $50 million opportunity to buy Netflix. And I'm sure that if you were in the meeting, it was, well, that's not our business. And we're on street corners and who's going to want to do DVDs through the mail? And, they're a nothing company. And we know how that story ends. Had they started with yes, and, this is a great opportunity and really explored why it makes sense, I think it's possible the outcome could have been quite different.
And it's also so hard to always know, right? So you're never going to get the balance perfect. I mean, right? You're gonna say yes to stuff that you go, oh my God, I wish I'd never done that. The beautiful thing is, best advice my dad ever gave me was no decision is final. And I think that's great to carry into your whole life, because if you say yes to something and it's not good or horrific, you will find a way, or should find a way, to get out of it and do something else. We live in a space and time which we're incredibly lucky to live in, where we have different opportunities.
100%. Again, I'm not saying do everything. I'm just saying start with yes. And I look at you and Lyle, and I look at the World Poker Tour,
Yeah.
and it wasn't linear. It wasn't like everything was perfect and we figured it out and it worked great. I mean, you had to pivot and go to different people and pitch it to different worlds, and get the poker players aligned, and get the channel aligned. Um, I'm sure it wasn't an immediate yes from everyone. We love the idea, Steve. We love you, and here's millions of dollars. Go ahead and do it. But you needed somebody who did have the same vision that you and Lyle shared, and did feel like coming on board. And then you had to change things. It wasn't a straight, hey, we know how to do it, it's going to be perfect. I mean, the whole cam was genius. Without the whole cam, it was impossible to watch. All of a sudden, you came up with this great innovation, which made poker one of the most watched sports in the world. And you also said yes to two of my favorite people in the world. You said yes to Mike Sexton and Sven Patton. I'm sure that a lot of people did not say that made sense. It was a little bit like The Odd Couple, but you saw what was great about both of those guys and made one of the greatest duo of all time on TV.
I think one of the things you just hit on is, in partnership and in collaboration, one of the things that really matters is allowing somebody enough freedom to make things happen. With Lyle Berman, who you mentioned was the funding behind the World Poker Tour, he always did that. And so decisions that otherwise would probably be painful just weren't painful, because essentially we were going to make what we were going to make, and he would come and weigh in. But if we had a good reason to do what we wanted to do, generally, we got a chance to do it. And I think that's part of why it worked.
I completely agree. And, when we started the World Poker Tour Foundation back in 2012, Adam and Steve, who were running the show at the time, Steve Heller, said, look, if you want to try it, go ahead and try it, but you need to bring somebody on to, do this charity event. And we did. We brought in another organization to kind of help us, because I was focused on being the new head of marketing for the World Poker Tour. And I think we raised around $185,000, and we spent around $185,000. And immediately they're like, okay, nice try, not going to happen anymore. And I really felt strongly that there was a way to make this work, that it wasn't the idea, it was the execution that was flawed. Right. And instead, I suggested that we went out to people that already embraced poker. In the particular, the TGR Foundation, at the time, they were doing Tiger Jam in Las Vegas. They were located in Irvine. So were we. We had, presence in Vegas, obviously, at MGM Properties. That's where they were. It just felt like there was a really great opportunity to work together. And we did. And that was highly successful. And that was putting us on the road to raising over $50 million since 2012. So again, it would have been easy for us not to do it. But if you see somebody in your organization who's passionate about doing something like yourself, and you believe in that person, and you don't believe they're crazy or stupid or have any other ulterior motive, but if they're really excited about doing something, and they want to do it on their extra time, you got to let them at least try. And I think that Adam was smart enough to let me try, and it's been highly successful. It's been one of the greatest joys of my life, and we've made some great relationships through it, and we've raised a lot of money for some amazing causes.
And I feel like one of the things that we do, if we're paying attention to our life, is when things come in, they're not, at the end of the day, necessarily what we expected them to be. And I feel like you've transformed so much of who you are, what you do, and your life because of the impact that you've had. And I will say we've had. I get to be on the board, which is nice, of the World Poker Tour Foundation. I mean, that has made it so you have a different direction and passion that has led you to the Valoroso casino event. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, I think if we're listening, we do pivot. We do find new ways to make the things we're doing make more sense and grow.
Yeah, when we started the World Poker Tour Foundation, my objective was to raise $1 million for charity. And now we've raised over 50. My objective, and then the partnerships we've had are amazing. I mean, World Central Kitchen, Children's Hospital Philadelphia, Special Olympics, have TGR Foundation that I mentioned, have all been partners with us. And over time, I've gotten a lot of interest in, hey, it's great that you can help us run this event from the WPT Foundation standpoint, but can you help us, run a smaller event in a local area? So, for example, I'm on the board of a group called Fish for Life. We take kids with special needs out on fishing trips out of Dana Point, and we've raised so much more money through poker events, through my expertise, that we've actually expanded into Santa Barbara, New Jersey, Massachusetts. And every time we take out around 30 kids plus their families on these great fishing trips. There's no cost, and it's all volunteers. So again, it's a pivot. I never thought I'd be a fisherman, right? But here I am. This coming Saturday, I'll be going out again with the kids. I help them raise money through their poker events. So I think it's important to lean into your strengths. I didn't know one of my strengths was poker, and understanding how I can make poker a wonderful experience and a great fundraising tool for people. But it has become one of my strengths. I could look at an event and work with an organization who says, "Hey, I've raised $50,000 and help them get to 150 or 200 or tens of millions of dollars in the case of some of the organizations we've worked with," and that gives me great pride, because amplifying the impact. I can't write a check for $50 million. But I can help somebody.
It might bounce. You could write the check. I'm just saying. If it feels good today, go ahead, write it down, put it on the desk. You might feel good about that.
Exactly. That's very funny. But I can amplify my giving. I have a strength in the poker world. I understand it. I understand how we use it to raise money. And I'm very proud that we've made it such a, it's a great sport for raising money. I mean, if you think about it, the most common fundraising activity in the world is a gala. But at least where I am, there's a gala once a week, and it's hard to differentiate. It's chicken and raise your paddle and give more money and hear my story. But after a while, it's like, but I'm not getting anything in return. I mean, maybe the impact, but I'm really, the event itself isn't something that my wife and I are looking forward to going to, with few exceptions. There are some amazing galas.
Of course.
The next common is golf. It's a great activity, but it's weather dependent. It's mostly guys going out in a foursome, not really hearing your story, because by the time they get there, they're warming up on the driving range or on the putting green. And if it rains, your 6 months of work getting all your foursomes, queued up, could be in jeopardy. So I really love, the poker events, the casino nights, they're not weather dependent. Everyone can have a fun time. There was a young woman at our event for Tiger's Poker Night a couple of years ago who never played a hand in her life. I coached her a little bit. She made the final table and came in third in the tournament. Never has played a single hand in her life. And they wrote a nice little story about that. So I think that, again, you are the visionary behind making poker so popular. And I know why it's so popular in when it comes to fundraising. It's just a great addition to whether you do a gala, and I'm not saying not to do a gala or not to do a golf event. These can be complementary. But I think poker is a great way to add some fun and Las Vegas spirit to a local event. I've never seen people and love coming up with themes. We did an event for the Boys and Girls Club of Orange County recently, and we did the Texas Hold'em Hoedown. So you can just imagine everyone was wearing cowboy hats and boots and chaps, and it was really fun. And we had line dancing class, and people just had the best time, and everyone came dressed to the to the nines and really got into it. And I think it's going to become an annual experience for us.
That annual thing is interesting because what's so much fun, same thing happened with the Celebrity Invitational, which we had from year one. People not only loved it, but they are your marketeers. By year
Yeah.
two, they're bringing other people because they had such a good time and can't wait to go back. That's hard to generate in any way. So it is one of those things. So much money's been raised, and that's a beautiful side car to what the World Poker Tour created.
Oh, I love the Celebrity Invitational, and I love when celebrities get behind poker. And a lot of guys,
Yeah.
I remember when we first. I don't want to mention names, but as much as the poker player was looking forward to meeting the celebrity who was running this particular foundation, it was vice versa. The celebrity just couldn't wait to meet the poker pros because in a lot of ways, those poker pros are very much celebrities. You watch Antonio or Daniel or Phil, walking down the middle of a casino in Vegas, people stop and want to take a picture and want to get their autograph. And I think that's wonderful. And they deserve that kind of recognition.
We like to dig here at SmarterUmedia. And I really think that what you manage to be able to do is hard. You're very good at it. I mean, really good at it, but it's hard to do. And even hard for some people to conceive how they could do it. To go out and try and get people together in order to be a part of a gathering or find a way to raise money for something that matters because you're passionate about it. I think a lot of us would love to do that, but don't even know where to start. So why don't you give us a little bit of a 101? How do you get courageous enough to reach out to someone and say, hey, we're doing this thing?
My sweet spot is finding some organization that is trying to raise money for a cause that I believe in. And I think that the rest of the organization and the poker community will get behind. And then work with them on what are their objectives, what's their mission, what's their brand all about. So I go back into my marketing 101 and then find out what is that sweet spot. And it's not for me, especially because they're filling the room. I can't fill all the rooms, even for a WPT Foundation event. It's going to be somebody else's charity that we're raising money for. The World Poker Tour Foundation does not take any money. All we're trying to do is break even. We'll bring Vince or Tony or Lynn to the event, Matt Savage. But the concept is that we will help amplify your event and bring the World Poker Tour expertise to your charity. You're going to have to fill the room, and that means you're going to have to decide what's the sweet spot in terms of how much money do you want to raise, how much money can you charge your people. Are you doing it at a hotel in Vegas, which means you can give out cash prizes, or are you doing it at a local hotel in Dana Point and means you can't? But we work closely with the organization with every organization to really understand what they're trying to achieve, who their donor base is. Is this going to be a small event for 10 high, valued donors where we give them a lesson with a poker pro and teach them how to really play great poker? Or is this, bring 100 people at $300 a person and we're going to raise $30,000 to $50,000 for our cause? And once we understand that, we just help walk them through every step of the way. I think a lot of organizations will just say, hey, I'll get you the dealers and the chips and the cards and the best of luck. But I like to sit down and talk with them. And as I said, I love the Texas Hold'em Hoedown because a lot of people just stop and say, we're doing a casino night, and that's the theme. That's not the theme. If that was the theme, then every hotel in Las Vegas would be a box. But Venetian put a lot of money into their canals, and Bellagio put a lot of money into that beautiful fountain out front. The theme has to go beyond the poker and the casino night. And to me, that's kind of really fun, kind of thinking about what your brand is all about, what your donors would like to do, and how can we get them into the event. So once they get there, first of all, both members, husband and wife, or the couple, the partners, they both want to go. It's really important that, and to be honest with you, golf is not always like that, right? Golf is the guy who probably wants to go, and the significant other is like, stay home or come back right afterwards, and please don't be as drunk as you were last time. So again, I think that poker is just a universal game. And what I try to do with the partners we work with is, what is it? What is your event? How much do you want to raise? What's important to you people? And then, go back to the basics. And is it 100,000 buy-in? Is it $10,000 buy-in? Is it a $500 buy-in? Each of those is different. And, again, it depends on the investment you want to make and what the return you want to see.
It is great to have a brand, and not everybody has a brand, like the World Poker Tour and the credibility of the having raised $50 million, but it didn't start that way. I mean, that first event that you put together that almost, killed the idea of the World Poker Tour Foundation, but you had enough passion to believe you could keep going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's as I get older, giving back becomes more and more important.
Yeah.
And whether it's being on the board of Fish for Life or running the WPT Foundation, I look at people like yourself and Mike Sexton. I remember Mike taught me a lesson a long time ago. There was a woman at the Bellagio who came up to me, or I went up to her, and she said, I'm a huge fan of Mike Sexton's. And I said, great. She says, you think there's a chance I can meet him? I said, I'm sure there'll be a chance you can meet him. So she had she was in a wheelchair, but I spoke to her family members. We worked with our production department to get a ramp so she can get on and off the set. We brought her down there. We took a picture with Mike. We then gave it to an assistant who ran to the Kinko's, who had a picture printed and framed and signed by Mike. And we gave it to her while she was there.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to do any of that, right? I mean, and we never asked her, to give or to do this. She just said she loved Mike, and that was enough. And we knew that Mike would love to do it. Mike was just that guy, right? So, I love raising money for charity. I love amplifying giving, and I love doing it through, poker. I think if you have to have that desire, you have to have that desire to give, and you have to have that entrepreneurial way of looking at things. And I think I come out of it from a pretty good perspective, and I've been very fortunate in my life. I've got a wonderful wife and 2 beautiful kids, a nice home, good family. So, I think it's important, and I know you feel the same way. You love to give back, and you can't not, right? You can't not. In a world that we're in today, we need to all find ways to be kind and give back.
Well, I believe that. Now, not everybody feels that way, but boy, I would love to spread that love around a lot more. I mean, with the understanding that maybe obligation, but I would just say nothing better. You're not going to feel anything better to go and hand that woman a framed picture of Mike Sexton is a gift to her, but it's a gift to everybody who was able to participate in the process. And there's just nothing better.
Look, and it didn't take all that much, right? I mean, some of the things that you could do that mean so much are the little things. As you look back on life, I remember the big instances and the big successes and the big failures, but I remember those small, intimate times where I just met somebody who moved me, or, so it doesn't have to be monumental. I get asked all the time by people, I think fundraising is a terrible term.
I agree. Let's get a better one.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem. I want to get the youth more involved in giving. But the one thing that the youth doesn't really have is money. They have time, they get skills, they get experience. So when I meet young people and they're like, I don't have time, I'm busy studying and stuff, I'm like, can you go to a soup kitchen one day a year? Can you go to an older age community and play piano for them one afternoon? You don't have to give. Can you come on one fishing trip with Fish for Life and help a young special needs kid catch a fish, make their day? It doesn't have to be, you're on a board and you've got to spend 1-2 days a month, at a retreat and stuff. It could just be, giving pieces of advice. I get called all the time for some reason. Look, I'm looking to do a small poker event. I need one table. I can't do it with Valoresso, and WPT Foundation certainly wouldn't, get involved. But will I give them an hour of my time to tell them how to do it? Will I help them come up with a structure? Absolutely. Will I even show up at the event and bring some T-shirts? Yes. I mean, those things I'll do every day I can. So I think when it comes to giving, it doesn't have to be all in. Just like I said with the whole thing of power of yes, it doesn't mean that you're committing to every event that comes your way. It just means that you're going to be open to provide even just ideas and thoughts and expertise, which costs
Yeah.
me nothing. But if somebody could raise $10,000 more because I gave them an idea, that's a good day. It's a
Brilliant.
good use of my time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the drop in the water that ripples out and changes the world. I mean, that's when I, in my introduction, said, who do you want to be and what do you want to do? It's not one thing. We're going to do many things. We're going to affect many things in many ways. And that's just got to be part of the equation if you want this whole meaningful life, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. Look, I'm blessed, and you're blessed,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's I would feel a void if I didn't have ways to give back. As I said, some things are, I'm just going to spend this coming Saturday. I'm going to spend the day on a boat with a special needs kid, and as much as I know it moves the child, it's the parents. It's watching a single mom get on the boat with a child that has special needs, and she
Yeah.
knows that this kid is being bullied sometimes at school or isn't treated, with the respect that, and is thinking about, like, I'm thinking my legacy, what am I leaving to my kids? They're thinking, who are they leaving the kids to?
Yeah.
It's a tough haul. And if I can give these, families, a special day where their kids are
Okay.
not judged and they just have fun and they just catch fish, and it's a good day.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes ever is George Washington Carver, who essentially, I'll slaughter it, but who said, start where you are, use what you got, do something with it, and never be satisfied. And I think that's an encapsulation of what you talked about.
Yeah, I would change that a little bit, though. I
Oh,
mean,
good.
I don't mean to challenge George Washington Carver, but I just think that the last part of it, never be satisfied. Look, I understand that you want to continue to drive, but sometimes it's okay to just,
Yeah.
just be happy. Maybe I'm taking satisfied as like you can go more and you can do better and you can go greater. I remember, my wife helps young people with essays, coming up with their ideas for their college applications. And I remember she was talking to someone and she said, I don't want to be great. I want to be good, because my sister tries to be great at everything she does. And then she won't play the song if she can't play it perfectly. And she won't do the concert if it's not going to be awesome. And she's not going to play the sport if she's not going to be the best at it. And she's like, I just like to be good. I want to be on the team. I don't care where I play on the softball team. I'm not trying to be the pitcher. I just want to be a part of it. And I think, in a lot of ways, the enemy of great is, it's better to be good than great, because great could potentially limit you to what you're going to get involved with. I'm not a great fisherman. I'm not even a good fisherman. I just like to fish with these kids. I mean, I feel bad. I apologize. Hey, you got me as your volunteer. You could have had a better fisherman over there. But I go, and I'm there, and I am satisfied with the way I fish, and I am satisfied with the giving I provide to these families. And I don't know what more I could or would do, and I have to walk away feeling great about the support I've provided without challenging myself to, be even better than that, be more satisfied. Sometimes I just could walk away, sit in my backyard, look at my plants, know that I could do more in my garden, but I'm satisfied for the day, at least.
We always managed to somehow, in the World Poker Tour, whatever that Camelot was, particularly in the early years, to stop, look at each other and say, I can't believe how amazing this is, and celebrate and be in the moment, because you have to be a part of it to appreciate it.
Look, you and Adam, I give you all the credit. I mean, and I love Adam, and I know he's one of your closest friends. He's brilliant at that. He knows when to stop. When he's talking to you, you feel like you're the only person in the world. He'll talk to a complete stranger at an event, and they will feel like they've completely got his attention. They treat he treats everyone like they're very, very special. And I think the World Poker Tour is built around that. It was built around you, Adam, and Mike. And I always ask myself when I was running marketing for the World Poker Tour, what would Mike do? And it helped me kind of, make decisions on what we would follow through with and what we would not. So it's great to have a visionary like that at the helm.
So much of life can feel transactional. And when you're in marketing, which is your background as being a chief marketing officer, and when you're creating events and trying to get people, particularly celebrities, so the Ben Afflecks, Tobey Maguires, Don Cheadles, the kinds of people we've had associated in this world are big names. Everybody wants those people to be involved. How is it that you manage to so well be able to work with those people and not make them feel like it's transactional or not make it transactional?
Yeah, it's sort of like the Mike story. You find what is important to each of these people. You make sure you hit those points. If it's exposure, you provide exposure. If it's and for me, I mean, the easiest thing that's been most successful is understanding most of these people want to give back. Yep. I mean, Ben Affleck's involved with the Congo, and Cheeto was involved with Annie Up for Africa. They want to give back. Right. They know that they've been lucky in life. And if they can do it through, a couple of hours at a poker table, then so be it. It's a great way of giving back. You don't need 5 days of commitment. You just need them to spend a couple of hours playing poker for a charity. And there's very few poker players that I know that are not about, giving back. I mean, Maria, Antonio, I recently saw both of those at a One Drop event. So I think it's important to find out what their sweet spots are, what's important to them, and then over deliver on your promise. Make sure the experience is great. Make sure the charity is getting all the money. It's great for us as a WPT Foundation, knowing that we don't take any of the money out.
Right.
So if they know that if we get $100,000, $100,000 is going to the charity, and we're completely transparent, it's not hard. And a lot of these guys like to play poker, we love giving the experience at the table. We'll offer up a poker lesson if they want a refresher to make sure they're prepared not to embarrass themselves at the table. I mean, whatever they need. If they want to meet one of the celebrity poker players, we'll do the best we can to arrange that.
I may need the refresher next time before I go to the December championships because I never play poker anymore. So, I'll show up and beg for a refresher course.
we will certainly accommodate you.
Yay! I'm being accommodated. Thank heaven. Somebody finally will accommodate whatever it is the me is.
I think one of the, it's funny. I'm thinking a lot about this conversation that we're having. And I think part of it is being creative. It's again, the difference between good to great is not all that much. It's the devil's in the details. We could have had that woman meet Mike Sexton, say hello, give a hug, take a photograph on our cell phone and hand it to her.
Yeah.
She would have been more than happy.
Over the moon.
But over the moon. But we wanted to go a little bit further. And we wanted to, and we saw the vision of what if she had this picture on her wall with an inscription, because we couldn't inscribe it if it was on her phone. It's interesting. It's just that extra little. So there's a story that my father just recently passed, and my father told me this story. And some of it's probably true, and some of it's probably a little folklore.
Good, like all good stories.
All good stories. 1964 the World's Fair, New York.
Yep.
There's a story that when they were just about to open up the World's Fair, they realized that they forgot to buy benches. So they have millions of people coming, but they don't have any benches.
Oh.
That's going to be a problem.
Okay.
So they went out and they did quick, who can make us benches and get, RFP and figure out how much. And I don't know if the numbers are right, but let's say it's 5,000 benches at $100 each. So it's going to cost them $500,000 in 1964 to buy all the benches. And that's the best they got. So a guy walks in, he says, look, I'll give you all the benches for free, 5,000 benches for free. And of course, the people, thought they got a great deal, so they had him sign the deal, and he's going to give them 5,000 benches completely for free. And so they're celebrating. So what this guy does is he realizes that the back of the benches is the same shape as a pack of gum. So he goes to Wrigley's and he says, "Hey, I'll give you all the advertising on the back of the benches at all the 5,000 benches at the World's Fair, and it'll only cost you $500 per bench." So he's going to make $2.5 million. Yeah. Then he goes to the bench people and says, "Hey, can you make me the benches, 5,000 benches for $100 each?" I said, "Sure." That's the deal they were going to make. He made $2 million profit just for brokering a deal because he saw it not as a bench, but as a media. And again, that wasn't so, he didn't make any benches. No one asked him if he knew how to make a bench. So I just love this story in that it's just a different way of coming at it, a different way of thinking about it. And that doesn't cost more. He didn't spend more to get more. He thought more and he got more.
The miracle of innovation. I mean, I'm fascinated, as I'm sure we all are, about what artificial intelligence is. But what you just described to me is wonderfully human innovation, which I don't see going away. But even in a competitive environment where perhaps machines are being innovative too, I think it's one of the things that we look around, and the things that work usually have that spark. It's that spark you're talking about. Yeah, I love that story.
The other one Dad tells is a guy is in a building where he's the tenant on the top floor, and he gets into the elevator with the owner of the building. And the tenant says to the owner of the building, "I just want to let you know in 6 months, we're going to vacate this building because the last time I had to wait for an elevator, it took 24 seconds. So the owner is freaking out. So he goes down to his, committee and his team, and he says, "Hey, you have a problem. We're going to lose a tenant on the top floor because he had to wait 24 seconds for the elevator, and we need a solution." So they come back a couple of days later, and one of them says, "We could put in a second elevator bank. It will cost $2 million. It will take around 5 months. It'll be ready when he's about to vacate, and it will take the wait time from 24 seconds down to 18 seconds. And another guy said, "Well, I got a better idea. We could put in a high-speed elevator." They just came up with this. We'll put in a high-speed elevator. It will only take 3 months to do it, and it will only take $1 million, and it will take the wait time from 24 seconds to 14 seconds. So they go around in circles, and they finally decide that's the way to go. And one of the other guys says, "Look, I think we could solve the problem by tonight. I think it will cost around $500. So he goes out to Woolworths and he buys mirrors and he puts them up in front of the elevator banks on all the floors. And it solved the problem. The problem wasn't that the guy waited 24 seconds. He just knew that he waited 24 seconds because he was looking at his watch because he had nothing else to do. But we know if we put a mirror up in front of the elevator bank, they're going to be fixing their tie, fixing their hair, and they're not going to be looking at their watch." So he saw it as a completely different problem. It wasn't the problem that he waited 24 seconds. The problem was he knew he waited 24 seconds.
That's a great story in honor of your dad. I love that you're telling a couple of your dad stories.
My dad's stories.
One of my favorite examples of innovation in all of computer land is just the time bar that shows you how far you've progressed, which changed people from going nuts to being patient. Just having a little time bar that sort of goes, at least I know I'm making progress, and it changes the entire equation, right?
100%. It's the little things.
Well, as a marketeer, do you feel like the tools that we are coming our way are really helpful?
Yeah, look, I'm torn. I think most people are. There's some very positive things with it. I think in the medical front, in particular, I think AI is incredible. I think, being able to quickly figure out, look, we have a friend who has Lyme's disease. It took 5 years before they figured it out, and she was devastated by it. I think in the day of AI right now, they probably would have assessed her condition much quicker, and she would have had a much better life. So do I appreciate it? Yes. Do I think we should overly rely on it and use it to write? We're forgetting how to write. We're, we don't, we can't send an email to someone without checking, whether or not ChatGPT likes the way we did it. So I think I think there's actually a place for it, but I also think that we as people are going to be craving experiences together, and the interpersonal relationship and things that AI just won't be able to figure out. They can't create that poker event that we just described. That it will bring people together. Yes, they could send out an email to a donor base and tell you, who's likely to give, but you're still going to need that personal one-on-one and that Mike Sexton experience. Without that, I think people will get bored. So I think it's a double-edged sword. I think it's obviously this ship has sailed. And it is incredible
it's not going away anytime soon. I don't think. Yeah.
It is amazing how far it's come in such a short amount of time. I mean,
yeah.
5 years ago, we didn't talk about AI, and now all of a sudden it's everything. Yeah. When I went to business school, the one marketing concept in the world was location, location, location. If you walked out of Wharton Business School with one thing, that's it. Now, the largest hotel company in the world doesn't have a single location. Airbnb. Right. The largest car company in the world doesn't own a single car. Uber. So, yeah. It's very different. I know that my sons, both 27, I have twins, came out of school saying, if you know how to code, you've got a job forever. And now, 5 years later, that is just not the case. So we could all go chase and say, hey, we know the answer. None of us do. But I do think that there will have to be a correction when it comes to, personal life experiences will continue to become more and more important as we walk into a world that's less and less interpersonal.
Well, I think we're already doing that. I mean, maybe I want to reframe the thought just a little bit, because I think we do desire to be together. Thank heavens. I think it's healthier, better, all those sorts of things. I mean, and if that's me being old school, it's me being old school, but people who are much younger than I am are yearning for and finding places in the real world where humans are gathering. And I think we'll have both of those things. My hope is that, and this is me being the optimist you know me to be, but my hope is that some of the things that will allow us to spend less time on some of the tasks that honestly felt pretty drudgery like. I mean, Web 2 with its email and all of those things did not necessarily free me up from, time spent doing tasks that I did not think were meaningful or that I wanted to do. So maybe some of that will free up more time, and we will find our way to do two things. One of is to be together more, because you and I want that. I mean, you arrange it for people every day and they walk away literally in their minds thinking, I wish I did that more. Why don't I do that more? Right. So we'll do that. But I also think that we'll be in a position where I hope we can solve some of the challenges and problems. And sort of, if we would just stop hating each other, which we're working on that, but if we would stop hating each other, I really think we would have a chance maybe to address some of the big overarching challenges that are out there. And boy, do we have, free time coming that could be deployed in that if we dare to.
No, I think you're nailing the head. And I'm not trying to be, when I was young, but
back when I was, let's go do the old voice when you do it. You got to use the old voice when you do it.
I don't want to sound that way, but at the same time, we are in a world that's, look, maybe this is cynical, but we are in a Wall-E world where everyone in my neighborhood is riding these e-bikes and they're not pedaling anymore. I mean, I just watching this world where, and it used to be we hopped on bicycles and my parents knew I was within 2 miles of the house because I couldn't go any further. Now you can hop on an e-bike and you can go, to the next state if you want. I think it used to be that if you wanted to, bully someone, you had to bully them at school. You were in your backyard and you take a swing at them, they take a swing at you, and then you have them over for dinner. And it was that was the way the guys were back in my day. And now it's
Yeah.
not that. You can actually be really mean to somebody 3,000 miles away. You can have an impact on somebody's life. And I think that's a really scary thing. I think it like, I guess what they say with Spider-Man, great power, great responsibility. And I think we do have a greater responsibility to our fellow man, to people around us, because we can make something great for them, or we can make something very devastating in a very short amount of time, using AI to actually do it, which gives you somewhat plausible deniability of your impact. I didn't do it, the machine did it. So I think, we need more kindness. And I hope that, I'm bringing that to some people's lives through the poker events and casino events that we do. And I do other events too. I mean, I've done golf events and galas. So I'm not saying they're bad things. I'm just saying that just think about it, and supplement it and come up with other creative ideas. Look, there's in charity, there's 3 reasons why people give, in my opinion.
Okay.
One of them is, Steve asked me for money. Steve needs $100. I said, here's $100. Let me tell you what it's for, David. Steve, I trust you. I respect you. I'm sure you're going to put it to good use. Right. The second reason is, I love your events. Honey, I've got to go play golf. I don't want to play golf, but I have to go play golf.
I got to go because it's for the kids.
It's for the kids. So I have to go on the golf outing. And the third is impact. I love the cause. I believe in the cause. I will do anything for that cause, and it means so much to me. My experience with Fish for Life. So ideally, you have all 3. Ideally, I love Steve. I love the impact he's having, and I love the charity, and I really have fun at his golf or poker or galas. He does it right, and he knows what I like, and it's really good. If you can get to that, if you can find that triangle, then I think you have a real winning formula, and that's where I think the most successful things are. Otherwise, you come to my gala, you don't really like it, you're not really having fun, you're eating shitty chicken, sooner or later I'm not going to go. Or if I do go, I'm not going to give as much. Or I love Steve, Steve's great, but Steve's no longer part of that charity, so they're calling me anyway, and they're telling me Steve's not part of the charity. That's why I gave. So if Steve's gone, I'm gone. Or they're doing events, and their events aren't that great, or they got unlucky and it rained out, and all of a sudden I know it wasn't their fault, but I didn't get to play golf. And I really wanted to play golf. And that's why I gave them the $500. And now I'm asking them to give the money back. And they say they can't because they had to make a deposit. And I'm sort of like, well, that's not how I want to be treated. And it becomes a difficult conversation to have with a donor. So I think, as I think about fundraising, as I said before, I would probably change the name so you get more young people involved. So, because a lot of times with fundraising, hey, Steve, can you give me some money? Maybe I don't want money from you. Maybe I just want your insights. Maybe I just want your audience. Like you said before about the Celebrity Invitational. Can you bring people to my event? I have a friend who's in Orange County who runs a roofing company. He's one of the most philanthropic people I know. He has given 100 roofs to Habitat for Humanity.
Amazing.
You can ask him for $1,000 check, and I think that'd be a big mistake. He's giving to a charity he really cares about. That means something to him. And that he's able to give better than anyone else I know, because he provides roofs. So he's been to, my events and my poker events, and, he's like, can I make a donation? I'm like, yeah, please don't. Give more to Habitat. It's a wonderful cause. It's great people. And you can give better. There's this saying, one of the companies I work with called Give Well. And it's not about giving more money. It could be just about giving your time, your attention. If I have a choice, Steve, if I have an hour with you to kind of help me think about my, charity, or give me $1,000 and I don't get any time with you, I'm taking the time, right? I will take that, your donation in, just helping me think through challenges. That is so much more valuable. And we all have value. I'll tell you a really interesting, funny story. Not a funny story, but a story. So on my first fishing trip for Fish for Life, I saw a young boy and he was taking the sardines and throwing them to the seagulls. Okay. So I'm thinking, I'm a dad. I'm going to explain to him how we do this. So what I'm about to do is tell him that you take a sharp hook and you put it through the little fish's face. Then you try to drown the fish in the ocean in the hopes that a larger fish will eat that fish and he will become impaled on this hook. And I will be able to then pull the fish in and hopefully kill the fish, fillet the fish, cook the fish, and throw half of the fish away because I can't eat the bones or the head, right? What he's doing is he's taking this little fish and he's giving it to a seagull who is eating 100% of the fish and getting complete sustenance from the fish, 100% of it, and is not getting hurt from it. If anything, he's living longer because we gave him the fish. Who's learning from who?
Yeah.
If an alien saw me, he'd be like, "You're a barbarian." That is a horrible thing to do. Yeah. This child is feeding a seagull. So who learns from who? I mean, honestly, you could learn from anybody. I'll learn from the guy who figured out how to buy, go to Wrigley and sell them advertising space. I will go to the guy that, figured out how to put the mirrors up. This young person who, with special needs, watching this person feed the seagulls, I walked away afterwards. Like, I learned something. And I think my sons really appreciated the fact that I kind of shut up around them. Like, I want to give them advice, but sometimes that's to just bite your tongue and let them do what they know how to do.
What a great way to end. May we all learn from each other, keeping that open and curious thing going, circling all the way back to the very beginning. So, we always ask each of our guests to sort of help curate information as the information age accelerates. I think it's even more important for us to find credible, good information. And it can be in the marketing space, it can be in the charity space, or whatever. But are there things or a thing that you found to be useful and that you use and find to be credible?
Yeah, it's going to be a little different than the answer I think you're saying.
Good. I expect nothing less from you, David.
I would say, just listen. People call and, I'll meet somebody and they'll say, "Here's my card. And yeah, I'd love to get together and stuff." And then you call them and text them and email them and they, basically ghost you and they didn't really mean it. If you want to interact with someone, mean it. And then when they call or they write and they ask for a meeting, take it. It's not that much. We can learn from each other. Look, we're all in this together. 1 + 1 = we. So at the end of the day, I learned much from this conversation. I learned on the boat. I mean, I think that take the meeting, take the networking meeting, take the call. Not all the time. Don't say yes to everyone, but maybe even put it on your calendar that, 3 times a week, I'm going to take a half-hour call with somebody who I don't know. Adam, I don't know if he still does it, but Adam used to have that. He'll take 2 strangers, you pull names out of a hat, and he'll find out 2 strangers and he will offer them that these 2 strangers can go on a trip together. He will pay for the trip. He will pay for the flight. He will pay for the hotel room. He will pay for everything. But you have to leave like now, like right after dinner. You go get your bag. You and this stranger are going to go on a trip together. I think it's brilliant. I don't know if he still does it, but he did do it for a while. And I thought it was just incredible. Take a meeting. Take a meeting with somebody you don't necessarily agree with. Take somebody who has different political views than you, but just take the meeting and learn from other people and listen to them. Listen to their side of the story. Everyone's got a right to speak and share. So I guess the fundamental learning is learn from others. Keep your eyes wide open. See what's going on. I mean, you've seen this on social media where they show a perspective where somebody's doing something and you think that they're robbing the woman of her purse. And then you look at it from the other angle and he's going to have to, pull somebody out of the way before something falls on their head. So, look at it from other people's perspectives, have an open mind, listen carefully, and really listen. Just don't say, "I'm listening, I heard you." Have the dialogue and be open to it and embrace it, because that's what it's all about. One of the things that's great about a poker table is that everyone talks, and that dialogue.
Beautifully democratic. Yes.
And
Yes.
I remember, Howard Lederer and Ferguson and Eric Lindgren and all these guys early on, and Eric Liddell, when they started playing poker, my understanding is that they'd play, and then they would go out for dinner afterwards, like to, Chinatown, and they would talk for hours about the hands and the game and stuff. They
Uh-huh.
learned. There was a reason why all these guys were in the Hall of Fame and why they were considered the best. And it's because they talked and they
Okay.
had conversations and they shared strategies and they shared and they shared stories and they shared a love and passion for poker. It wasn't just luck that they all made it into such an esteemed club, and were the best in the world at the time, and still probably are. Ivy and so on. So I guess that's my long way of saying there's not a particular website or blog post or anything that I go to or anything that I use, but there's very few meetings I will not take. There's very few conversations I will not get involved with, and I've almost always left those conversations and those experiences better, and
That's
hopefully left the
perfect.
other persons a little better too.
We will have your cell phone down below. I'm just kidding.
Not a problem.
Uh, Listen, David Gitter, what a delight. It always is. Here's to the next time that we get together. Come back, will you?
I love you, Steve. Thanks so much for putting me on, and we'll catch up again really, really soon.
All right, man. Peace.
Bye.